this is your new project. It should last roughly a month, week 1, 2, 3 and 4. The theme is going to be food. So what we're asking you to do is to do 4 separate things. So if you can see here in the middle here, it says part 1, research. You'll do that for roughly half an hour, and you'll move on to part 2, which is collecting your pictures, your images and various things. Part 3, then you're going to start your drawing, and you're going to investigate your theme by drawing. Part 4, then you're going to make your final finished complete drawing, and that again should take about 2 to 4 hours in total. So what I have here is some examples of each of the parts, because it's kind of confusing, but it's a little bit easier once you see some images. So part 1, you are asked to research. So you need to understand the word food. In this case, you need to look it up in the dictionary. You need to write about it in a spider diagram, like my example over here. You need to eventually then focus on one or a couple of those words. My example here is I wrote the word hungry over here. So for a drawing project, that might lead me to drawing empty containers. So once you've done that, that should take a little bit of time. It's not a 5-minute kind of thing. My example there is quite short, but you're going to spend about 30 minutes on it. You're going to write a few sentences maybe, and maybe even explain why that word there is kind of one of the most important words for you. Eventually then, your next part, so I'm going to read it up here first, so is collecting resource. So once you've thought about the word, you need to collect your source material. These are objects, photographs, various things like that. It could even be a label from some container or something like that. So part 2, that's my little example there, just a photograph of a few apples, banana, that kind of thing. Obviously the objects themselves are important, but photographs are going to help you as well. If you're drawing in black and white, then I might encourage you to convert to black and white. Part 3 then is where you get down to actually making some drawings, and this is an example of just a drawing of orange in this case. So dissecting it, cutting it apart, looking at the individual parts of it. The outer skin looks like this, the inside it looks like this, the peel, the skin looks like that. Maybe some kind of colour studies. Art is important as well. So if you look at somebody like Darwin, Charles Darwin, he's a guy who would have gone to various islands and parts of the world where just to explore and to discover. Cameras were not really available at the time, so he really relied on his ability to draw. So what he tried to do there was draw the various things that he saw, but his drawings were very important. He needed to draw to a very high standard. So this is the drawings of various birds, and in this case a finch. But he studied them in a lot of detail. In particular, he looked at the beak, because the beak actually looked quite different. It's the same bird essentially, but with a different beak. And that discovery led him on to some really important things, like the theory of evolution, that this bird's beak is that size because it needs to open up a very large nut. This beak down here, this finch might feed on something like ants or smaller insects or smaller creatures that don't require a lot of power. And he discovered this through drawing. So back to your own project then, I want you to hopefully discover something through your own drawing. Part 4 then, you can see over here in the corner. So this is the final drawing, so I'm going to read from that first. So your final work should be something that shows your full ability, your maximum effort. It should take at least 2 hours. You can use any medium, so pen, pencil or whatever. You might end up drawing it with lipstick or eyeliner or something that might relate to your theme somehow. It usually looks best in A3 size, but use whatever you have to hand. So it could be a done storage shopping bag that you might like to draw on, or any kind of paper, any ground at all. It could be a piece of fabric, or get creative, because it is art. So, and we would like you to be creative. So I have an example here of the artistic process. So this is an example of the beginning. In this case, it's just an orange. So what that could lead on to then is some of those kind of drawings like you saw before. So drawing the individual parts, dissecting it, breaking it down into its smallest part there. Maybe there's a seed in there as well, and you can make a drawing of that seed. That's the outer shell, and it's kind of a nice line drawing study of it using biro, it looks like. Eventually then this project could lead you into other places. So this is what I'm going to show you now is a bit more like a art college, third level art kind of experience, where you might start to look at the orange and look at it in a different way. So in this case it's looking at it, looking at the moon, because it looks kind of similar to it. The moon then might lead you on to thinking about the tides, perhaps, the sea, how it comes in and out, and that might lead you then to the sea. Then you can see in this case there's a collection of objects there related to the sea, some things that you might find in there. And that project might finish then by making photographs down on at the sea. So some things that might wash up. There's a couple of very interesting photographs, some natural things that might wash up there as well. So that started with this. That was the starting point there. So you can see how art can kind of lead onto all sorts of things. The final piece is going to be important, but really the art lives in these earlier stages where you are thinking about a word. What does it mean to you? What does it mean in the English dictionary? You're going to collect things. You're going to hopefully think about food and what it means, and eventually then make drawings, and finally make one final drawing. So that as I said before, that's my final example of just some random drawing found on the internet. It's not my own, but that's the kind of look that we want. It doesn't have to be as clean or high quality or anything like that, but we do want you to spend a good few hours on it. So this resource here, this image that we're looking at here, that's going to be available on Microsoft Teams, so if you get stuck at any point, just refer back to this, and hopefully it'll help you a little bit as well.